Hey, it's your friend Emma. Welcome back to the summer edition of It's Good to Talk. I really hope you've been enjoying the episode so far. And even if you are back at work, I hope that it's been a little time for you to think and reflect and really to add to your personal development, which was my intention. I've got a special offer for you today. I've got a little secret that I want to let you in. And I only want the people that are listening to this podcast to know this. One-to-one coaching with me is not something that everyone can do. So I wanted to make an offer. And that is that if something has been activated in you when you've been listening to these episodes, if there's more for you in 2026, then I want to talk to you about a online program I'm going to run in February, March this year called Switch Up 2026. I ran it in person last year and I'm going to run it online this year so I can get to more people. And I want to offer this up to you, the podcast listener, first. It's going to be a 4-week program where we meet for 90 minutes in the evening once a week. And then at the conclusion of the program, everyone will get a one-on-one coaching session with me. And really, I want to use Switch Up 2026 to give you a space to personalize what you've learnt, to extend it, to get clear on what you want from 2026 and how you're going to get it. We're going to talk about intentions. We are going to talk more about word of the year. We're going to talk about setting and managing boundaries, both at work and at home. And we're going to talk about inner critic as well, because sometimes that can thwart our plans. So if you want to go on the wait list for this before I open it up to more people, send me an email. Send me an email with Switch Up 2026 in the subject line to emma@worksforeveryone.co.nz. WORKS everyone.co.nz. And just tell me you want to go on the wait list. And then when I've got the materials together, I'll send them through to you. You guys will be the first to know. So Switch Up 2026, I'm making it available to podcast listeners first because you've invested in yourself. You deserve it. Drop me an email if you want to go on the wait list. I can send you the details as soon as I have them. Hope you enjoy this week's episode. Onwards and upwards. Hey, it's your friend Emma, and welcome back to the last episode of It's Good to Talk, the summer edition. I was meant to kind of get a new jingle, but I didn't. So that's your jingle for you, because you've made it through. I really hope you've taken at least one thing away from the summer edition, that it's given you some time to think. It's given you some time to reflect and maybe take away some practical things. One thing maybe that might make your year a little bit more intentional and a little bit take you from good to great. That's been my intention. I wanted to put something together that you can use for your own personal development. And, you can really have some time, sometimes when it's kind of nicer weather, to think about ourselves. That was my intention. And I'm going to go out with a bit of a book review, call me old-fashioned, on 6 books I have really enjoyed in 2025. And I just want to share with you why I enjoyed them. And I will put all the links to these books and any podcasts that I recommend in the show notes. So the first book, and if you are watching along on YouTube, which of course you should be, I will be putting the books up to the camera so you can actually see them. So the first book is called We Can Do Hard Things, Answers to Life's 20 Questions. And it's by Glennon Doyle, Abby Wambach, and Amanda Doyle. And if you don't know, but Glennon Doyle and Abby Wambach are kind of heroes of mine. Glennon wrote the book Untamed, which is an excellent book if you are looking for change in your life and really to think about, when did we get so tamed? How did we learn to live a life of shoulds instead of the life we want? And I thought it was excellent. They have followed up with having a fantastic podcast series called We Can Do Hard Things, where they interview absolutely spectacular people, where they interview experts in all different fields and they ask very curious questions. And I really loved the podcast, but I've loved this book even more. The reason why I love this book, and you can tell when I've loved books because I put a lot of post-it notes in the book. You can see that if you're watching on YouTube. Is basically they've gone back through the archive of their podcasts and they've picked out the best bits and they've put it into this book and framed it up as answers to life's 20 questions. And, the 20 questions are things we've actually talked about on this podcast series, like, who am I really? How do I return to myself? How do I figure out what I want? We've talked about that. How do I know what to do? How do I do the hard thing? How do I make peace with my body? How do I make and keep real friends? Parenting, am I doing it right? Why am I so angry? How do I get unstuck? How do I forgive? I could go on, but they're excellent. But it's actually beautifully done because the book is a whole lot of quotes from the podcast. And the people that they're quoting are people like, you may know these names, Jane Fonda, Martha Beck, Gloria Steinem, Brené Brown, Elizabeth Gilbert, Emily Nagoski, and Cheryl Strayed. And if they aren't a list of people that are changing the world, I don't really know who is. I want to read something out to you because now I've become a teacher, obviously, from the book, which I really loved. And it's under I thought it was quite relevant because it's under the title, What Do I Want? Or under the chapter, What Do I Want? And this quote is from Emily Nagoski, who has written a lot on, no other way of putting it really, sex, body image, healthy relationships. And this is the quote that I really, really loved. During the women's rights movements for voting and labour rights, the marching strikers chanted, "We want bread and roses too. Bread for all and roses too." Their message was, not only do we want decent working conditions and fair pay, but we want liberty over our own lives. We want pleasure. We want the delights of life. We want music and time. And here's the complicated thing about life's delights. They require time, peace of mind, and a community that will hold our stuff for us so that we can step away just for a couple of minutes and stand in life's sunshine to get access to the roses. We need support to protect us through all the demands. We want bread and roses too. So the question is not and has never been, what do women want? It is, how can we get free enough to learn what we want and then actually access life's delights? And I think that's really good because it goes to a lot of observations from coaching is that particularly women, and I think some men just don't give themselves permission to do the nice stuff, to do the good stuff, to look for pleasure. And so anyway, I would really recommend this book. It's a really good book to dip in and out of. And again, if you are wanting to take control of your mindset, be thoughtful with the thoughts you are letting in. And I think this book has got a great deal of quotes, thoughts, inspirational people that might just be a little key that helps to unlock. So though We Can Do Hard Thing by Glennon, Abby, and Amanda is my first book. My second book is not a surprise. The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. I'm not sure when Mel's coming to New Zealand, but I am actually going to see her. She may, I don't know whether it's in January or February, but I'm very excited to see her. Now, a lot of people have got this book wrong, right? It's not just the let them theory. It's the let them theory and then the let me theory. So what I'll do on the show notes, this is an excellent podcast episode of her podcast where she explains the let them theory. But again, why I'm recommending this to you is if you are trying to cultivate a positive mindset or a mindset that you are intentional about, you will really need to embrace let them. Because we can't control other people's mindsets, what they think of us, or what they're even going to do. We can only control our thoughts, our mindset, and our behaviors. So, this is a really great book, very practical, as she says on the back. 2 simple words will change how you think about your entire life. And I can really recommend that if you carry a lot of weight around what people think, or feeling judged, or getting angry about what people are choosing to do, this Let Them theory is a great book for you. Book number 2, The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. A book that just came out later on this year is called Feminomics: What Data Tells Us About Women's Lives and How to Get the Most Out of Yours by Corinne Lowe. There's a picture of it there. I really enjoyed this book. Look at all the post-it notes. She writes really well. If you really like data, there's a lot of data in this book. Adam Grant's written a recommendation, a passionate, provocative case for change. And I just think that not only does it talk about the problems, but it talks about the solutions. And I think it's a really interesting book. I don't know if I'd buy it. Well, I would, because look at all my post-it notes. Put it on your reserve list at the library. I want to read you out a bit because it's actually relevant to one of the earlier episodes of the summer edition. And I want to read out what Corinne says here. She says, it's very, very funny. Taking care of your own needs doesn't mean abandoning your family to go on a yoga retreat every weekend or tossing your responsibilities to the wind. It's as simple as making yourself coffee every morning, just the way you like it, and sitting and drinking it before anyone is allowed to ask you for things. Or making yourself a sandwich for lunch the good way, the way you usually only make them for a picnic, or when you're making them for someone else. There's a headline from The Onion, which is like a satirical platform, that has always stayed with me as being way too on point. And the headline was, Mom hasn't ordered favorite pizza topping in over a decade. If you are married to a man, and especially if you have children with one, I want you to ask yourself very honestly how often he goes without his preferences for dinner being met versus how often you do. It's time to rediscover what you like on your pizza. So I think that's quite funny, right, that she talks about pizza, because I had a pizza story as well. So the universe is all lined up. So I really like that. Feminomics. I can't really say it, but anyway. I wouldn't be good on telethon. No one will even remember telethon on this show. My next book is a funny book because a lot of what I've experienced this year is about trying to lighten up, about trying to look for the light, and that everything doesn't have to be serious. So this book is called Disappointing Affirmations: Unfollow Your Dreams by Dave Tarnowski. And it's a really tiny little book. It's actually quite a cool present for someone. It's like a tiny little book. And I'm going to read you out 2 of my favorite disappointing affirmations. I am capable of great things. I'm not going to actually do any of them, but I could. It's one of them. Some of them are really rude. I can't swear on a podcast, obviously. Self-sabotage. Why wait for things to fail when you can make it happen yourself? Love that. The best way to cope with your problems is to add new ones to distract yourself from the original ones. Yes, I follow that way too much. So if you want a little light relief, disappointing affirmations. I really love this book. It's a short book. It's by someone I hugely admire, Melinda French Gates. It's called The Next Day. She's written, it's about transitions, change, and moving forward. So again, if you're interested in change, this is a great book. She's written about how many? I think it's 7 changes she has experienced in her life. And that's becoming a mother, getting divorced, experiencing death of a loved one, changing jobs, all these big changes, parents, all this kind of stuff. And it's just big changes and transitions in your life. And she's just written so beautifully about it. The other thing is, it's a very short book. And, we don't really have time to read long books. I'm actually writing a book at the moment, and I'm writing a short book. But I would really recommend The Next Day by Melinda French Gates. So if I really, really admire Melinda French Gates, you're going to know that the last book I'm going to recommend to you is a book by someone that I hugely, hugely, hugely admire, Jacinda Ardern. And you can see this has got a lot of post-it notes in it, isn't it? This is called A Different Kind of Power by Jacinda Ardern. This is not a book about politics. This is a book about how all your lived experiences can layer up into a life. And I'm going to start crying, not going to cry. This is an amazing book. Talks about, Jacinda's life so far and what she's experienced and what she's learned. And so much in here on leadership, on a different way of leadership. And if you haven't seen Prime Minister, the documentary, I would encourage you to see that. It is fantastic. I cried and cried and cried. I actually was lucky enough to go to the New Zealand International Film Festival premiere where Clark Gayford and the producer spoke, and very spectacular. By the way, if you haven't seen Pike River, that's also a great movie. Now I'm giving movie Recommendations, but anyway, Melanie Lynskey and Robin Malcolm and Anna Rockhouse and Sonia Osborne. Wow, they're amazing. Pike River. This book, I actually did a book club on this year. I don't do book clubs, but I did a pop-up book club. Had about 15 people come along. It was an amazing evening. And I just think this is a great book. I'm just going to read you a piece from the book. There's lots that I like, obviously, you can just look at my post-it notes. But I just thought this was kind of pertinent as well, based on what we're talking about being, all the expectations on, well, particularly mothers. And this is a piece that I've kind of, in my post-it notes, I've called this a village. And she's talking about when she went to, as Prime Minister, when she went to the UN and she had baby Neve and she breastfed Neve in the UN. And there were a lot of photos taken of that moment. I worried that this photo could become a banner for, quotes, women doing it all, or some kind of proof point that women should never complain about how much they have on their plate. Because, look, here's a woman running a country and being a mother. Sure, women can do it all. They are mothers, workers, caregivers, change makers, advocates, counsellors, cheerleaders, often doing these things with little support. But that doesn't mean they should. Women shouldn't have to choose, the way our mothers so often did, between being good at their profession and being a good mother or daughter. There should be support networks, a village, whatever you call it, that can help them be all of those things without completely losing themselves in the process. That's what I was blessed to have at the UN and elsewhere, the love and support of others. And today that's exactly what I say when anyone brings up this photo in the UN, or when they stop me in the supermarket to ask how I did it. And I just really love that reflection from Dame Jacinda that, this takes a village and we don't have a village. And if you're finding this hard, know you're not alone. And boy, parents have a lot on their plate. So I really love that book. And I know it might be ironic that I'm suggesting all these books and you have no time, but a lot of them are audiobooks as well. That's all I wanted to leave you with for It's Good to Talk, the summer edition. I really hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please reach out to me. Please let me know what resonated the most with you. And I really hope that 2026 is a great year for you and a year where you can put yourself at the center of your universe, because you are the most important person in your life. Onwards and upwards. If you enjoyed this week's episode of the summer edition of It's Good to Talk, please forward it to a friend who you think would also enjoy it. If you've got any other feedback, I'd love to hear from you. Send me a message on Instagram, works for everyone, or on LinkedIn, Emma McLean. Connect with me, send me a message. I'd love to know what you're all thinking about this. This podcast was 100% funded by me and my business, Works for Everyone. We are a professional development agency that partners with leading New Zealand businesses to help retain and grow their working parent talent. We do that through executive coaching, keynote speaking, and workshops. Hope you're having a lovely summer. Onwards and upwards.